Hey everyone, so today we will be talking about how do we debug Apex. Okay, debugging Apex is a very essential part. Okay, and if you know debug, then you know how to find your problems or how to find the problems in your code. So debugging basically enables us to find the problems in our code so that we can identify the problem and then we can correct the problems. Okay. Um, I've shown you how we simply debug is by putting some debug logs in our code and then those debug logs will be printed. Okay. So let's say if I write and execute anonymous window code and let's say if I query our account, call it account list and then here let's say we query select ID from account limit 10 and then by this statement system.debug just spell mistake system.debug and here inside that statement we have to write the thing which we want to query. Okay, this is how we simply write the system.debug. Okay, now we can also add an additional string in front of it so that so that we can easily identify, because in our exact whole transaction there could be multiple system.debug statement and it will be difficult for us to figure it out. Okay, first thing you need to understand is that system.debugs and everything related to system.debug will only be in your sandboxes. Your production code should not have any system.debug statement. So how do you figure out that code? We will also see that. But here as a developer, you write code and then you put the debug statements to see where your code is going, what data it is getting. You can use system.debug. Okay. So I can put it like this. This is our account list and then can save this. Sorry, not need to save it, just execute this. And then you will be seeing that if you see the log tab, a log got created. Okay. And this is the detail of that execution log, how it got created. And inside that, there are multiple options. Okay. If you click on debug only, then whatever debug statement you have written in your whole transaction will be shown here. Okay, so this is your account list. This was the static text you provided, and then you got the list of your account. This is the value part of it. So this is how you get the list of account. So similarly, whatever you want to debug, you can put it in the debug log. A log will get created, and that's how you will be debugging it. Okay, simple way, nothing fancy. But sometimes when we run our code and our code base is huge. Okay, let me open a class. Okay, opportunity share handler. I will tell about this. This is your class. Okay, now this has multiple things. Okay, and when you run this class, or when let's say this class will get executed via a trigger and all, your execution log will be huge, like it will have thousands of lines. It will be really difficult for you to debug it, because there could be hundreds of debug statement and it will be very difficult for you to go to each statement as well. Okay, so to better debug it, we can use this tool called Prospective Manager. And in the Prospective Managers, you can see there are different options. Okay, the current option is log only. That is why when you execute this, only log file gets visible on your screen. This is the log file because we have enabled it as a log only is true. Okay, if we use all as true, then you will see not only just the log file, but couple of other files will also get created. Like there is a stack tree, there is an execution stack, there is an execution overview, there is an execution log. This is normal log file. There is a source, and then there is a variable value to it. Okay. Now, whichever line of code you are executing, you can see the source of it. Okay, like if you go to this line, your source will change. Basically, it will show that whichever line of your code is getting executed, it will display here. So in this line, your query is getting executed. In this line, your debug statement is getting executed. So it will show you what is getting executed at a particular time. Okay. So this is how you can use this to understand your code even better. Let me try to execute this code, okay, to get a better log. Okay. So let's and this takes input of opportunity as a list. So let us create a list of opportunity first. Limit. Okay, now if I pass this opportunity list in this method and try to execute this, you can see another log will get created. And if you check just the size of it, you can see that the earlier log was just a 3 KB, whereas this is 16 KB. So this is a bit bigger log than the previous one. Okay. If I just open it, I think this has opened as it is. Okay. Now this is our log. We do not have any debug statement in our code. Okay. So you have two options. Either you go through whole log and try to see what is happening. So the ideal way, or you can say if your log is limited, then you can even go through the full log. You can see that how it got started. So in this org, it got started at which time, then you clicked on execute anonymous window. So this code is getting executed from execute anonymous window. You can see here code unit started. First execution started, then this execute anonymous window code unit started. Then the first line was to fetch the list of opportunities. So you have created a list of opportunity. Okay, so size will be allocated in the backend to that list of opportunity. Okay, then your SOQL query will get executed on this on the same line. Then again, the heap size will be allocated. Here SOQL query got executed. Okay. And here variable will be assigned. So the value will be assigned to that opportunity list here. And then you will enter in the method. So here it is saying method entry started. And then here you have exited from the method. Whatever happened in that, you will see here. So that's how you will see that opportunity share list. You have created a variable opportunity share list. So that has started here, and then you have a loop inside that, so that loop will start. That's how your whole code will get executed. Because our code is limited, like just 10-12 line, we are able to figure it out. But in your org, you will see that normal execution log will be in MBs. Okay. And they will have so many lines of code. Like let's say you are inserting another account, account related flows will run, account related trigger will run, account related process builder will run, workflow will run, account related assignment rule run, account related validation rule will run. So your log will be in MBs, and it will be very huge for you to debug it one by one. It will practically be impossible for you to debug it by one. Okay. So then in that case, we try to take help from the prospective manager. Here, if we click on all, you will see a different view on your screen. And this is known as the prospective manager. From the execution tree, you can see how your code got executed. Okay. You no longer need to go through each statement in the log and see which line is getting executed. From the execution tree itself, you can see it will show you a tree where it will show you what actually happened in which order. So it started with the execute anonymous window and how much time it actually took in total. Okay. And so the total time it took was 135 millisecond, and the total heap was taken was 1847. So when we get that CPU timeout issue or heap size limit issue, you can check from the execution tree, like which piece of your code is taking the maximum amount of time. Okay, so here the maximum amount of time is being taken by the opportunity share insert, and the this one is taking the maximum heap size. In case you will be able to see a line which is taking more than, or which is running in the loop, or which is taking more heap size than the other, and you can pinpoint to that point rather than going through the whole code. Okay. Most of the time in CPU timeout or in the heap size issue, it is finding out the root cause of it. To find the root cause of it, you will go to that exact code. You will see why there is a recursion happening, or why this particular variable assignment is taking more heap size than ever, and all those things. But you will be able to identify the root cause of the problem very quickly rather than going the whole code. Let's say it has 5,000 line, it practically be impossible for you to go through that. And because it will be a production code, you will not have any debug statement. Neither you are allowed to add any debug statement there. Okay. So debug logs will not be able to, I mean, the debug statements will not be able to help you much, because in production code, you will not have debug statement. So in that case, also this view, or you can say this prospective manager helps a lot. Okay. So this is about execution tree. Same we have performance tree as well. It will tell you how many iterations of happening of each of these things. Okay, how many times these things are running, so that something which is running in loop again and again will have multiple iterations, and you'll be able to see that, okay, this piece of method or this piece of loop or this piece of thing is running again and again. Okay, so that can also help you in certain scenarios. So they both are really good feature. And once you actually do real programming in a company, you will see and you will use these things a lot, because the more experience we gain, the more complex problems we get. It will not always be about writing triggers in Salesforce. You will join an organization which already has written almost everything, but they are getting problems. They are facing issues related to row lock issues, related to governance limit issue, and you'll have to identify the problems. Okay. So that sometimes will become your main job, to identify the problems, and then these kind of scenarios will help in. And especially in product based company, there will not be new requirement every day. In service based organization, we keep on getting new requirements. Okay, but in product based organizations, you will not keep on getting new requirements. Instead, you will have to solve the existing problems, and then debugging becomes really important. Okay. Hmm. All right, this is the execution stack. This again is pretty similar to what we got in the tree. It's just a different way to show that you'll be able to see everything in a single screen. And order is reversed. So execute anonymous window will come at the end. This is also very important. But what I like most about is this timeline feature. Okay. This timeline feature is very important because it shows you which thing is running at what time. So if let's say your transaction is of 1 minute, then you have option to break it into the scale of 0.01 second as well. And then you can drill down that at which second what code was running. So our and execute anonymous window started the code. That is the part here. You can specifically click on it and check, okay, what happened there. So I started the code, execute anonymous window, and then these things happen in this code block. In this particular code block, this is the execution log for this particular code block. And then a database operation happened. What happened? You did a SQL query there. So this was the second piece. And then after this, again, your Apex code ran. And this is the execution log for that. Then again, a database operation happened. Because we are running it from the anonymous window, there is no validation rule and other things are happening. Only your Apex code and database operations are happening. Okay. And then at the end, this particular piece of code ran. So from the timeline, you can see at which particular instance of time which piece was running, which is a very useful feature in my opinion, specifically when you are debugging the CPU timeout, because you can see that which piece of your code is taking the maximum amount of time, because that's where you will have to identify the problem instead of solving the whole problem. Because let's say you have 10 validation rule, you have 15 flows, you have two triggers, you have workflow rules and everything. If you go each one by one, it will take you months to solve a problem. We do not have that much time, right? So we'll have to identify the problem quickly, and that's where these kind of things helps a lot. Okay, so this is a very good feature. There is one tab for limits. Okay, set profiling log level to finest. We will also be able to see the limit, like what kind of limits we are consuming. Let's say we are getting SOCL 101 error. So here you can see that which is taking what limits, and then you will be able to identify. Because we are running it from the anonymous window, there is no save order events. Otherwise, it will tell you the event, I mean, in which order records were saved. It helps you when your one transaction is starting another object's transaction. So from object account, let's say you are you are updating the opportunity, then opportunity update will also start. Then opportunity is starting contract transaction, then contract transaction will also start. So it will tell you the exact save order, in which order we are saving the records in database. Okay, and this is the execution. These are the executed units. Here you can completely see the drilled down version of it. Okay, so this was the opportunity share insert. Total time it took, total heap size it took, total number of rows were there. It was query type, so whichever will have SOCL will have a SOCL query. It will be able to tell you again a lot of other things. When query was running, when method was running, when DML operation is running, it will be able to tell you everything. Okay, so it is a very important feature. I want you guys to spend at least one day in understanding this, which feature is saying what, and then I think we'll be good. Now, execution log is something which we get by default. Okay. So execution log will tell you almost everything about it, but execution log along with source becomes really important. So let's say if you're in this line, this is the source of it. If you are in this line, then this, but whatever line is blue, light blue, is running in the backend. So here, when you are on this particular piece of execution log in the backend in your code, this query is running. Still, this query is running. So when you reached here, still your query is running. When you reached here, then you will see. Now that you can see that you have entered in the method. So in the back end of your code, now this line is getting executed. This line has finished executing. Finished as in the query part of it, the variable assignment part of it, heap size allocation part of it, and execution of that line. All has completed, and now you have moved to this line. Now it will spend some time there to do the heap size allocation and all. Now you can see here it has entered the loop. Okay, now it has entered the loop, and these were the and now you will go inside it, you will have new opportunity share record inserted, variables will be assigned and everything. So from here, execution log and source, you can check which piece of line is running, and what is the happening in the execution log along with it. Because otherwise, for new person, it is really difficult to understand these things, like what is happening here at what time frame. So you can also check it right here. Okay. And then these are the variables and the value, which is not very much helpful. I will show you why. Just a second. All right. So what I'm trying to say is that the prospective manager is a very good feature. If you use it properly, it will help you a lot. It will help you understand the complexity of Apex in the backend, or it will help you understand the problems you are facing in your system. Let's say your system is very slow. Your users are complaining that every time they insert a new opportunity, they the whole process takes around a minute, which is very slow. You can go through backend and see the prospective manager whenever you insert an opportunity and see why it is very slow, like which thing is taking majority of time. There is a very healthy possibility that from opportunity you are starting a new transaction which is running in loop. So from here, you can check. If you go to the execution log and start checking that, it will take you ages to do that, because if it is taking 1 minute to get executed, then trust me, your execution log will be around of 4,000 to 5,000 lines, and it will be really difficult for you to go through that. So this prospective manager will be very helpful in such cases, and I want you guys to spend some time on it to be able to understand this more. Now, another thing, along with prospective manager, we have something called checkpoints. In your code itself, you can put some checkpoints to see what value is coming there. So let's say you inserted a checkpoint here, you inserted a checkpoint here, you inserted a checkpoint here, and you inserted a checkpoint, let's say here. You cannot set more than 5 checkpoints. So if you try to do that, you will get an error. Cannot set more than 5 checkpoint location. Okay. Why we set the checkpoints? I will show you. Okay. Now, let me start executing this code from the anonymous window. And instead of going through the debug logs, there is a tab checkpoints. Go through that. Here on the right hand screen, you can see these are the checkpoints location. You have set the checkpoints on line number 3, 7, 9, 13, and 10. And this is how they got executed. Obviously, so line number 3 will execute first. If you double click on it, it will open the checkpoint. So what is line number 3? Line number 3 says that create the list of opportunity share record, right? If I see the checkpoint of it, checkpoints will basically tell you that whatever data we have at that instance of the moment, or let's say at the line number 3, what data we have till now. Okay, so when we executed the line number 3, we already had the list of opportunity with us, right? Because list of opportunity we are passing in line number 2. So if you see the line number 3 execution or the checkpoint, you will see that we have the list of opportunity as a value already. Okay, you will be able to see that, but we have not created any opportunity share record yet or nothing else. Okay, so if I go and see line number 7, then what will we get? Let's see that we not only have opportunity now, but we have looped through that opportunity. And then you see here, we have looped through one opportunity, and then till now, we have not completed the loop, right? We are still inside the loop. So let's say we are in the first opportunity itself, then we are only getting the one opportunity here. And then inside that, we are creating the new opportunity share record, in which also we have this data. So till now we are in the opportunity share creation. We have created a list of opportunity share. Okay. And then if you see this list, that also just have one. And then we are in the opportunity share creation record, okay, which already has the opportunity ID, right? Now, if I see the line number 9, which is setting the access level, that should be pretty much similar to what we have here. Yeah, that's pretty much similar, but it has got the additional data. So remember here, if you are setting in the line number 7, then it will fetch all the data you have till line number 6, not line number 7. So when you check the line number 7 code, you did not have this user or group ID. If you check this, line number 7 execution, you do not have the user or group ID, right? But when we executed line number 9, then we got line number 7 executed, right? So here you have got the user or group ID as well. Okay. So that's how we will do this. Now, if I check the line number 10 execution, we have also got the access level because that is getting executed in line number 9. So whichever line you set the checkpoint, all the prior line will get executed, and whatever data you are getting till now in your bucket, you will get the detail of it. Okay. And if you set the last checkpoint, if you check the last checkpoint, you should be able to get almost everything. Now here your opportunity share list will have 10 opportunities because loop got completed. Okay. So you can check for each opportunity share record and you will be able to get the data for it. Okay. So this is the complete execution. And at any instance of your any point of your execution, you will be able to check what data you are getting, what was the row cause, what was the opportunity access level, and how data is coming at in your code at that point. Okay. So checkpoints are very helpful when you'll have to debug your production code and when you have some data related issue like data is coming wrong or you're not getting the proper ID, you're not getting the proper levels and all, then you can use the checkpoints and it will help you a lot. You can remove these checkpoints and can set additional checkpoints. See, but whenever you set the checkpoints, it there should not be many checkpoints in your code because every time you set the checkpoints, the execution will stop, will do the all the checkpoints related assignment there, and then we'll go out and will show you the logs, generate the logs for you so that you can go through that. So you set the checkpoints very carefully, and whenever you need, then only set the checkpoints just for you to debug, not for you to set it just for the sake of, because here, let's say you were setting checkpoints here, that was not logical. The only checkpoints which is logical here or anything which can go wrong here is when we insert it. So here we should be setting the checkpoints. But checkpoints are very important. Go through it, try to do it on your own and see if you have any doubt on this, but it is a good way to debug it. Okay. Now, there is something called debug. See, whatever we were debugging, we were directly debugging from our developer console, right? But we have debug logs here as well. Ideally, how we do that? Now, let's say if I have to debug the flow, how will I be able to do that from the developer console? I will not be able to do. Okay, there is one option, go to flow and then click on debug, but that will just be a specific debug. It will not show you the real-time debug, or you can say the debug which has everything in it. So let's say you have activated a flow, but your users are complaining something. How will you debug that piece? You will set a debug log for it. Okay, we can create a different debug log, and then based on that debug log, we will get the logs here in this. Then we can download those logs and can go through it. Okay. So let us see what are the different log types available. Okay. When I set a new debug log, there is one option called traced entity type. Okay. What type of things you can debug? That's basically what it says. if I want to set a debug log based on a user, let's say a problem is happening only with one user, other users are not complaining it. In that case, I will set the log for that particular user, and then we'll be trying to see what is going wrong in the back end when that user is doing that particular operation. So let's say there is a user ABC who is saying that whenever he is inserting the opportunity, you are getting error, like he is getting error. You checked it with other user and they're saying that they are not getting error. Okay, so in that case, you'll have to check for that particular user. And if you try to check it for that particular user, then you will set the entity type as user. And then there is another thing called traced entity name. शिवांगी, इसको देखो. Then there is something called traced entity name. Now that you have selected user as an entity type, you will have to select which user you want to select, right? We will come here, and then whatever user we have, we will get all such options here. So then you will select that particular user which is complaining. Okay. And then we have a start time and end time. So it just takes the 24 hours. Okay. So you can select start time as current time, and then end time you will have to make it less than. So it should be today 7th, it should be 8th, and now the last option is, and you can even decrease it. It's not necessary that you set the debug log for 24 hours, because whatever this user will be doing within 20 hours will get logged. Okay, and debug log will obviously take some space in your storage, right? So you need not to necessarily do it for 24 hours, but you can set up to 24 hours. Then the last option is debug level. If you click on debug level, currently we have only not DC, there should be multiple, but what it does is, and we can create our own as well, is that different types of debug level, and those different types of debug level will basically tell you that what we will be debugging up to what extent. Okay, so for example, this is debugging workflow. In the workflow, it will just provide you information, but Apex code it will debug at the finest level, like whatever finest it possible, it will do that. Okay. Similarly, for system related problems, it will debug them. But for, let's say, call out, it will just provide you info. For validation, it will provide you just the info. So we can create our own debug level as well. Like if I try to create my own debug level, I create Mohit's debug level. And here I can put finest in everything. Okay. Or in the validation also, I want just the info. Call out, I want finest. Apex code, I want you to debug. So here, whichever option I am changing, you can see that things it will be checking in the backend will obviously increase or decrease depending on what option I have. So if I select just the error, then it will just check for the errors in workflow rule. But if I check for the finer, then it will check a lot of other things along with just for the errors. So depending on what we select here for what category, our debug size obviously will increase, because let's say if it is checking more than just the info, then it will have to check for so many things in the backend, and it will obviously increase the size of it. So most of the time we are aware about what we are checking, and then we try to create a debug log to just put finest only on that. Okay, but you can create a finest log and put finest on almost everything. Obviously your size will increase, but you will get the maximum information out of that debug log. Okay, so you can do that, and you can save this. Okay, and you can save this. So let's say you will have to check the flow, right? So if a user is clicking on that button and then something should be happening and it is not happening, in that case, you will create a debug log for it because that information will not come in the developer console. You will create a debug log and will save it. And then when that user will perform that operation, a debug log will get created right here. Okay. And then you will go through that debug log. So let's say I select my user and save this. Okay. Now, if I run this code, a log should get created. You can see a new log got created because I executed a particular code. Okay. And we have a debug log on my user. If you'll have to just debug the, let's say flow, then instead of doing a user debug, you can debug on the process automation. And then process automation will only show here. What is the NBA in debug log section? Even I'm not sure. I will check it. Okay, so now you can download this debug log or even view this debug log right here and you will be able to see what is happening in it, right? This is the size of it. This is very straightforward, easy debug log. That is why it is uh, very small, but normally you will get a very huge debug logs in it. Okay, now let us check the what is NBA in debug log. Okay, if I set the new NBA strategy. Next best action. Okay, this is related to Einstein prediction inside. This is next best action. Do you guys want me to cover next best action in one of the session? This is also a very good feature, admin feature. Okay, we can cover it. So this is how the debug logs work. If you want to just check for the automation rule or let's say workflow rules, process builders and flows, then you can use the automated process and then it will check for the automated process. Then you need not to select a particular user. If you just want to test for a particular trigger, you want to check what is going wrong in the backend, you can just select that apex trigger, just select the apex trigger, and then it will only create log whenever trigger will get executed. It will not create log for the other things. Okay, so from here, entity type, you can determine what you want to track, and based on that debug log will get created. Chandresh is asking, if I will select log types as finest in Apex code, will it print system.debug statement in Apex? See, if there is a system.debug in Apex code, then it will print the system.debug as well. But most of the time, your production code will not have system.debugs. Okay. So in real company, your production code will not have system.debugs. But if it has system.debug, then it will print system.debug. Okay. Even if you select just the information, then also it should print the system.debug statement. Okay.
Okay, sir. Okay.
So that's pretty much about debugging Apex. There is something called replay debugger. This is an extension in VS Code, and we will cover it in a separate session. But this is nothing but whatever debug logs you got created here in your Salesforce, you can get these logs directly in your VS Code, and then it will be easier for you to check those debug logs in the VS Code. Okay. So we will cover Apex replay debugger in a separate session, but that will give you the same debug log, which you are getting here. It's just that in the VS Code, it will be easier for you to debug that or easier for you to navigate through it. Okay. So that's pretty much about the debugging part in Apex. Now we will start the doubt session. Okay. Let me stop sharing.